Omni Creations is proud to present Ring Ring Hello.
Hi, hello, and welcome back to Ring Ring Hello podcast, the podcast where no matter your background, you are not alone in a post-COVID world. Today, I am joined with Mystique Owens, poet and creative from good old Virginia. Hi, Mystique.
Hello.
I am so excited to have you here, and so very grateful for you to share with me and our Omni Creations community and Ring Ring Hello your journey.
I'm so happy to be here. This is super cool.
Thank you so much. I was just discussing with Miss Lady here about our initial interaction with one another. We found one another through the old classic TikTok, and we were discussing the beginning of origins with ourselves and businesses and development and journey and such and so forth. And I was wondering if you could share with me and the rest of us here listening in, what inspired you to become an entrepreneur? And with your specific craft, could you share with those who maybe aren't familiar with you prior to this, what exactly your craft looks like?
Right. So, well, for starters, I'm a little pedantic, so I ramble. So I have a lot of words for this. I am Mystique. Mystique Owens is my full government name, but you call me Mystique. It's my art name, kind of like a Zendaya or Beyonce. Well, your fingers crossed. But I am a poet, writer, and songwriter. And I'm trying to have a book published soon. Hint, hint, we can talk about that later. Fingers crossed. But and I have always been very artistic. Since like elementary school, I was into art, like painting. I was trying to get into the governor's STEM program. I was in choir for years. Did vocal and instrument lessons. But unfortunately, a lot of that started to fade away when I started pursuing my day job in engineering. And it's a very funny story of how I even got into that. My aunt, who was also an engineer, she was visiting, and my mom was telling her that she was like, oh yeah, Mystique wants to be an artist. And my aunt says, do you like drawing? And I said, yes, I love drawing. She goes, well, you know what has a lot of drawing? Engineers. And I didn't understand the difference. I was like, oh, that sounds neat. I'll try it out. And she got me good with that one. So that was the funniest long-term gag that we've had since. But that being said, I do enjoy engineering in a different sense. It provides a life that I like, whatever, what have you. However, because of the arduous work of pursuing a full engineering program, it slapped up a lot of my personal life and my personal endeavors, and the biggest one that got hit was my art hobbies. So, and it was weird because it was one of the few things that felt very authentic to myself, and that's something that I could do without being compared and graded for it. And in the other half of my life, it is very competitive. And I am a naturally competitive person, and it is like a double-edged sword that I like to win, I like to strive for greatness and such, but I suddenly lost that part of me that I didn't have to always push and burn myself out. This evolved into my career life, and I felt a very large empty hole in my adulthood. Like, my life was just work, home, sleep, study, right? And I had friends too. But for a while, I started thinking, like, is this really it? Is this all my 10 years of school and everything has come down to this one moment? And I'm just going and being an office drone under very nasty fluorescent lights. It brought me to like one of my worst depressive episodes I've ever had. And there was nothing that I could do in my career life or in my professional life, quote unquote, that filled that void. Like, no matter how much I achieved on my engineering side, and I guess that's like a a young adult trying to get a new car, an apartment, stuff like that. It was just not scratching the itch that I needed, and that itch ended up being like a massive pustering wound, and I felt like there was no way for me to escape out of that. That leads me to like 2 years ago. That was like the deepest part of the depressive episode, and I wrote a piece called Icarus. If anyone's in the Hampton Roads area and have seen me perform, you have definitely heard this piece. It's a very not controversial, but it's a very intense piece that I have about escapism, and is very ambiguous about what the character is trying to do in this piece, where the main character is trying to break free from a cycle against everybody else that is looking at them, and they decide to jump because they believe they can fly, right? And they will just get out of here anyway. But I wrote that and started looking up avenues in Norfolk because I heard it was very artistic. I remembered it from college, and I just wasn't able to go to any of them. And I found the Muse Writing Center, and I want to specifically plug them, especially what's it called? Teach. His name's Jay. I forget his government name, but I know him by his art name. His name's Teach. He's the main publisher in that center, and he helped me find the community that I am with now. And because of him and his community that he helped me find, it filled that horrific hole and emptiness that I found, and it reignited that small little ember that was still left of being an artistic sprite, and is now as like a massive bonfire. So shout out to everybody.
That is so wonderful.
Yeah, yes. Shout out to the Muse Writing Center. Shout out to the venue on 35th. You too helped me through horrible nights, and y'all will never know until probably listening to this thing now. But
yes,
yep.
Put it out there. I love that. That is, it's very. Every artist's story is beautiful to me, so I sound like an old record with that, but you truly, like, you have, I think, a success story to many out here, some would say, with the struggle of finding a work-life balance and like that actual life element.
Right.
Because you're right, you have this extremely successful, like engineering is, and a STEM program is a career path, that's impressive. And it's like, you go to work, you do this thing that you are passionate about because it excites those masculine, like, logic and powerful senses of yourself and
right.
leadership and such and so forth. But then it's like, well, where's that creative element of myself? Where's that I get to make what I want? I get to fulfill
Right.
myself. I get to really, that more feminine, that like that balance, that work-life balance, that
Right.
that creative element we all need, definitely.
Exactly.
That's so amazing. And you found resources right in your community.
Yes, I'm so huge into community building. I know that's not part of this process today, but the community, I know we've been speaking a lot in current events on this. It's important to build community, and I feel like that is said but not really enacted upon.
It's not acted on.
I am saying, and I finally was like, you know what? Let me go see what they're talking about. And I'm so glad I did. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I'm so glad I did.
Well, could I ask, do you have any recommendations for those who maybe are feeling kind of stuck like you once had been and want to break through, want to get out in their community, but they just don't know where to begin?
So it depends on the region. I'm going to sound so corny. There's like the Meetup app and Eventbrite, and they have these random like events that occur. Like, for instance, I opened my app this past weekend, and there's like this elderly lady who's trying to gather people to go forage for mushrooms, and she's like, I would like 10 people to come along with me. So it's not every app or invitation on Eventbrite is for like concerts, which is a big mind-bending thing that I realized not that long ago. So, and
that is really cool.
I know. So I've been dropping into any random thing that's like under $10 at this rate, because it's not, you don't have to spend much to go find people, but you have to do things that you're earnestly interested in, or else it's not going to work. I tried doing a jiu-jitsu club. I don't like getting beat up, so obviously I wasn't trying to go. So I suggest that for starters. Second, you have to motivate yourself when you are feeling bad. That's the biggest thing I tell my current friends that from college that see that I am always out doing something with X community here. And they're like, well, how did you even find out about it? And I'm like, honestly, I saw a poster in a coffee shop and I showed up the time that they showed up. They told me to show up. And I show up alone, and it's just uncomfortable doing things alone, but you'd be surprised at how many people are also there feeling awkward, going there for the first time.
Wanting community.
Exactly. You're there for the same reason, So it's just like, once you get past that mental hurdle, you're like, oh, this is nice.
Yes, exactly. And you're so right with you have to pull yourself out of those bad moments when you're in your head and you're like, I don't really feel like it's like, no, that is exactly, that is the moment we have to click in our brain and be like, oh, this is an opportunity for me to change.
Exactly.
This is one of those moments I gotta go forth and find something.
Exactly. And I'll be honest, you might not find your best friend that first day you come outside, but you will find somebody out there, and that set of people will guide you to a great community, So I just say you just gotta go outside, and everyone's a lot nicer than you think. I'm anxious. I'm an anxious girl,
I feel.
And I know.
I mean, honestly, I don't think you cannot be in this economy.
Exactly. I run real tight, So I'll go outside and I'm like, oh, cool. I'm outside trying to meet people. And then someone walks up to me. I instantly get tense. And they're going to say, they're like, oh, I like your shirt. Where'd you get it? I'm like, oh my gosh, someone that recognized my random meme that I'm wearing. This is nice. And then lo and behold, boom. Also, share your Instagram or whatever social media, because that's the quickest way someone will contact you again. If they like your stories, say oh my gosh, Chloe, my new friend from mushroom foraging, liked my story. Let me go talk to them and say, hey, you want to go mushroom farming again? And then you guys go together. I don't know, that's my example for right now, but that is
great example. That it applies so perfectly. Exactly. It can be as random as, or not random, but it can be as specific to a person as mushroom foraging. That is, I love the idea of that, but I'm I never even thought that was I never even thought of asking somebody to do that. You know what I mean? And it's oh, I love that. That sounds like such a blast.
I know. People get really creative, and you just let your creative freak fly in a very PG way. Though. Don't do anything too crazy.
With finding yourself and creative purpose and so forth, and your own fulfillments, could you share with me a little bit about how that journey led to your discovery of purpose and motivation with your leaning more into professional creative arts? Obvious, as we said before, you are a engineer, that is your professional, but your creative, what did you say? Creative freak fly? Yeah. Your creative freak with it. How would you describe her purposes and motivations comparatively?
Okay. So, goodness gracious. So my answer for, it's different for both creating as in a creation artist, so I feel the writing and writing songs and just creating things with my hands versus performance. They're two different motivations. And the motivations for those are entirely different than my career ones, because that was just anxiety and needing a job. But for the motivation and purpose for creation, to start, I am a very melodramatic artist. That's the most polite way that someone has described me before, and I've adopted that and I'm running with it. My work has big feelings, huge feelings.
I love feelings.
Yes,
they're important.
They are important, and I feel like we all have to start recognizing feelings more. And sometimes I feel that it is selfish to have such feelings. People that I know personally ask me, how come I feel that way? What has gone in such a way for you to feel like that in the first place, and things. And I get that, and I understand comments that come from there. However, comma, big comma, I do not write for them. And that is my purpose and motivation, because in almost every aspect of my life, I realized during this 2 years ago stint that I was going through that I perform for others. And it's not in a negative way, but it's in a way that just is. And I feel like if people understand that, they too are in a performance mindset at all times. And what I mean by this is that I am a title before that I am myself in a lot of my social environments. I am an engineer. I am an employee. I am a daughter. I am a friend. I am a neighbor. But when I write and when I sing, I am just Mystique. I get to do that for myself. And if the entire world abandoned me, like lost use of me at all, I would still just be me with my voice and my pen. And when I create, it brings me to a inner place that is a very isolated, freeing, exhilarating, and scary place that helps me be authentically myself. And when a place where I am a giver person, and it's a place where I go in myself that I don't have to give anything. What I give goes straight back to me. You know what I mean? So that is why.
Yes, I so understand that. Yes, the when you said you perform for other people and then what you create is for yourself, like I exactly. There is a difference in performance arts and in a person who paints in their house and never shows anyone. Like
right.
That is the difference. Like a performance is meant to be done to be watched, and then what we make privately and share is a different type of art. While they are both art, it's with different purposes.
Right, exactly. And like when I create, and like the book that I'm trying to make for myself, right, it is distinctly to chronicleize all these big feelings that I've had and put into a packet and say that this is the feelings of Mystique, right? And I've been a person, like, obviously engineering, I have a very left side brain, or was it right side? Anyway, very stoic side to myself that, like, I hate referencing this man, Machiavelli, his phrase, the end justifies the means. I would push through everything I possibly needed to push through to get something done. And if it was at the risk of me losing a limb, I would lose the limb in order for me to let it get finished, right? In this artist world, I don't have to lose a limb. And I can be mad if I have to lose a limb. I'm allowed to have those feelings. And I want to be able to recognize those feelings and know that, hey, you are hemorrhaging. We should recognize this. Or like, hey, you are feeling great feelings of elation. We should recognize this. Like, you're allowed to be proud of yourself. You're allowed to feel everything. And that's why I create every single time I do. So performance-wise, it is different, my answer, because in my brain, there are two different things, because I've always been writing. Performance has been on and off throughout the years. But performance-wise, it is the strangers that push me to continue. And it sounds weird to say that, and like, obviously you're on a stage, you're performing, whatever, or like when you're displaying like a painting and such, like people are there to view at an event. But what really makes me feel very validated that I'm producing something very meaningful is when I am stopped after a performance and someone comes up to me and say that what I shared that day wholly related to them in a way that they never thought about before, right? Or they've never been able to articulate, you know? Like,
yes.
Well, I wrote a new piece the other day, right? And it was about being the wrong fit for somebody, but them still being like a good human in your life, whatever, right? It's a little complicated than that. And there was a girl in the audience that just broke down in tears during my performance. And this has happened before, obviously, right? But and after the performance, she came up to me and was like, you know, I felt that piece so heavily today. I'm going through a breakup right now, and I don't want to, there's no way I hate this person, but I know they're not meant for me, and your piece really solidified that I made the right decision. And that touched me so much. She was this young woman, and I remember being in her shoes several years ago. So like,
Yeah,
stories
that
like
is so
those,
beautiful.
exactly. And like, stories like those, and like people tell me afterwards, make me want to continue to be vulnerable on stage, because it is
Yes.
hard to go out there and dump out your life via paper and pen and voice, and then hope that someone receives it backwards the way that you wanted them to, or in the way that just is helpful in general, you know. So, but yeah, that's my motivation. I love the strangers that talk to me.
Yeah, that is incredibly beautiful and empathetic, and I would say that, to me, you show such literal balance of the like ethos and logos of being, because I don't know if I mean, you must be aware of yourself because of the way you articulate yourself, but it's like the level of awareness of your own differences internally. I'm like, oh, someone who really, like, and then you take your awareness of yourself and you're applying your challenges and sharing them in a way that others can not only hear your story, but they're finding themselves through your experiences.
Right.
And through that, it gives them a healing opportunity, because that's also what art is really about. It's about healing. It's about expression. Like,
Exactly.
it's about pushing through in different ways, and in every way, honestly, no matter what the avenue is.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons why I was so glad of finding the community that I am in now. There will be days where my mental health is in the trash. I am horribly depressed, or like work was horrible, or I said something wrong to a friend and I'm trying to work through how I'm going to do that. And I will go to one of the venues and sit and just participate as an audience member. And I'll hear other people give very vulnerable pieces of art on the stage. And like the girl that approached me the other day about how much they felt about my piece, I can give the same thing back to them. And after the performance, I'll walk up to an artist and I'm like, I'm so glad you did that today, because in this audience right now, right here, I needed to hear what you had to say, and it was meant for you to come up here today. So, and then we share that moment together. And I don't know, it's like, I've been going to therapy for years now, and no shade to my therapist, this has done a lot more work in some aspects, because being able to go and just commune with somebody that has the feelings that I feel, and then we work through it together, and it's a positive outlet,
Family.
Exactly. I was like, I wrote this down earlier. I write a lot of like one-liners, but it feels like that we are holding each other's hands through like our revelations through art when we share pieces.
Literally, girl.
Yeah.
God, if that does not, oh my God, if that does not literally explain, that is. I literally, let me tell you, people, I have just met this woman, and that is literally exactly what I've been thinking about lately and feeling, and I'm just like, wow, I just gotta keep a smile on my face and be like, it's gonna be okay.
Like, if Elle says, it really isn't okay. It's like being validated with that feeling.
It's not. And I'm tired of having to feel like it is. You know what I mean?
It is. Let me crash out artistically. But yeah, that's how I feel. I'm glad we're on the same page. Good gracious.
Yeah, yes, literally. Like, God, it's the what I really want people to understand is, I think every single person in this country has to be to some degree aware that they need community.
Right. They do.
You know what I mean? And it's like, whether you find that online, whether you find it in person, like whether you find it through your therapist, everybody needs an outlet.
Yes, they do.
We can hold hands and be at a distance from somebody else so far, but all be holding hands and all be together and all, be working for the greater good. But it's like, we're sitting in the room and the world's on fire, and we're just like, this is fine.
Exactly. And like, I'm not saying we all have to bring fire extinguishers right now, but if we all recognize the room is on fire together and that, but we are still here together going through it, the together part's the key word. We like one person stomping out a fire is kind of hard, but like if all 10 of us are stomping that fire out, we'll feel better.
If y'all, oh God, yes, please, yes, let us make it happen.
Right.
Oh my goodness, and with this vigor and such, could you tell me, what would you define as a success story for you when you go out and you have your mission of like, I'm going, like, do you set a goal before you go out into the community? Like what does that kind of look like when you go do an activity, or does that depend?
Yes and no, but yes in a very amorphous sense. So like success as an artist for little old me is always being impressed or proud of myself afterwards. And it doesn't mean I have to nail the set, but a lot of times recently it is, we don't have, sorry, I think I messed that phrase up. What I'm trying to say? I lost train of thought. Oh, I'm back. A lot of times it means showing up when I did not want to and going through and committing till the end. And
she said,
you know what I mean?
Like my mom. Like,
I know. I still remember too.
Ruth's here. Ruth's looking down like, yep, you just got to commit and follow through. And it's like, God, you're right.
Yeah.
Literally, like that is exactly right.
Yeah. And for a period of time, I thought I was doing that, but I wasn't, because I wasn't committing till the end. I was showing up, right? And like sometimes maybe that is the metric of the day, you know? But at the end of it, when I'm back in my car, I put my seatbelt on, I'm driving back home or going to like get a taco afterwards, I think to myself, am I glad I came out here today? Am I happy, content? Am I proud that what I did was what I could do? And sometimes the answer is no. I'll sit there and I'm like, you know what, Mystique, you could have hit that note. You kind of felt it because you didn't feel confident just now, but you hit that note every time you go on that stage. Other times, why didn't you try today? And like, I'll think more inwardly, and sometimes it'll be like, for instance, like an open mic setup. There will be like an Adele-esque singer right before me, and I'm like, girl, she cleared. I don't want to go up after that, but I have to go up after that because I will be mentally self-sabotaging myself if I go there and like, oh, she
don't even try.
Yeah, exactly. Even I walk on that stage and say I'm just going to do it anyway, because my attitude is already bad. I failed inside my head. And I also want to say this: pass and fail are neutral terms. They're products of measurement. You know, saying you failed only identifies places where you need to improve so you can succeed the next time, right? And it doesn't feel good to fail. Yeah, it doesn't feel good to fail, but it's good to know when you failed. And I feel like we need to, like, as artists, we have to identify that it's okay.
People in the community need to be able to learn to accept taking accountability.
Yes, take accountability for that. So it's like, so that's where my success is, understanding where I passed and failed, and I'm allowed to fail successfully, you know?
Yeah.
So that
is also, I feel like, a main point.
It is because you can't improve. You always think you're doing great. This sounds dumb to say it like that, but like, no one is made like the most perfect of perfect. Like I just said, Adele has bad days too, you know? And like,
right,
there are probably times she goes on that stage where we think she did amazing, and this is a good parallel. We think she did amazing because she's Adele, you know, but there's been times she's probably walked on stage like, you know what, kind of croaked on that last note right there, or like, I lost my breath control during then. But she knows that, and she can go through and push forward and go and, you know, iron that out with her. But the crowd doesn't know you failed. That's why you have to be confident and commit when you're on the stage. But if you don't commit when you're on the stage, everyone feels like you flopped. So, and that's an important difference. And it's okay to flop. We all have flop days. But and one last thing for defining success, for me as an individual, and this goes in every aspect of my life now, I ask myself two questions. Am I happy? content, and am I doing this for me? And a lot of times those answers can be no, right? And it just is what it is. We are humans in a capitalist society, and then I have to pay the bills. Does this make me happy? No, but I'm glad that I had to get it done. You know what I mean? But if I can't answer yes to both, or those answers are positive and true to myself, then it is successful then, you know? So that is, I think, my full answer. I'm not sure how coherent that was, but
no, absolutely. I definitely, I understand. Like, I feel like our brains function on such a similar level of how we look at situations. So sorry to anybody who's more of an emotional based thinker. I think we're in the I think we're in the thinking range here, because like I'm like, no, I understand everything you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And then somebody else, they're like, but Mystique, you don't have to fail. It's just because I'm gonna fail. I'm like, no, we have to get rid of that mindset that we can't fail, or failing is bad. You know? It just acts
exactly. With that in mind, that perspective of failure is not a judgment, it's an adjective.
Yes.
Could you share with me what would be maybe one of your most significant lessons you've learned for yourself throughout this journey?
Oh man. So that's from the TikTok. One big one recently, to add context to the TikTok, that probably where you found me from. I am a new co-host of an open mic that has retired in Norfolk, but has been rebranded and revived. And the what are they? I guess are the usuals of the previous open mic. They aren't catching up to the new open mic, and I think it's because of new naming, new branding, and such, right? So I do not blame them at all. We have new usuals too, but I think with so many changes happening with that same set, like new hosts, new people, new themes and things, we're having an interesting time trying to rally more attendees to go to this open mic. And also, I think just around the art area currently, there's like a weird wave of just low attendance right now. Things happen in seasons. It's not the only open mic going through this kind of stuff, and other events too. But we like the small and mighty crowds. We appreciate when they come out. But I had a very hilarious event when I showed up to the open mic on a couple Sundays ago, and there was 0 attendees. And I don't think it's ever happened to me before.
And no people? That's kind of crazy.
People. And what's even worse, it was in a public coffee shop, and they had no customers either. And the clients were confused. Not the clients. Goodness. The coffee shop workers were confused. I was confused. Eventually, like, a trio waddled in to go order a coffee, and we're like, oh, there's people finally. Oh my goodness. And I say, like, no one's came in. It's been 45 minutes. No one has showed up. It's been dead empty in the coffee shop. And I was like, is there supposed to be a hurricane today? What's going on? But while it was empty, I first felt in my feelings, right? And obviously I was feeling pretty bad that I was there alone with Mike set up, standing there looking kind of confused in a very empty room. And there was one girl in the back on her laptop. I believe she's probably going to interview, which I feel kind of bad about later on. But I decided that I could either pack up and go home, because I texted my friends saying, Lord, there's literally nobody here. And I texted my mom too. And they're like, oh man, I'm so sorry, Mystique. Why don't you come home and get like a sandwich? That was what my mom was saying. And then my other friends were like, well, why don't you like wrap it up and we can go meet and do something else? And there was, a yellow wood divided into 2 roads, or whatever that one C.S. Lewis phrase is, or I probably got that wrong too. I decided that I either could stay and figure it out, or I could just pack up everything and go home. My other co-hosts, one of them had COVID at the time, and the other one was seeing family out of state, so they couldn't come support me at that time either. So they were saying, oh my God, we're so sorry, what's going on? But I decided to stay and literally give a full hour and a half set to an empty room. dead empty.
That's right, girl.
Exactly.
Do it.
So
Just do it.
just do it. Just do it. And in my brain, I thought I literally have nothing to lose. Not like anyone can boo me. Like.
And it would be, yeah, and it's a great experience for you to like.
Exactly.
That's a great time to practice like your stage presentation.
I even tried a little bit of comedy at the time, to which the three people that waddled in during my very lonely set, they thought I was funny, and they asked if I do events. And then
What an idea!
I
The
know.
very lonely set.
Exactly, very lonely set. And then I made it to the end of the thing. A trickle of people ended up rolling through and would stay for a little while and walk out. But the manager of the coffee shop that day, at the end when I was wrapping up, he asked if I'm available to do other bookings and to book me on more busy times for the coffee shop, because everyone in all the staff thought I was hilarious and talented and had really good meaningful work and everything. So because I pushed through that very odd
Yes.
empty room
And put your best self forward.
my best, I gave my all that day in that room. I will
Girl, and you got booked and busy. That's what it's about. It's not about who's there to watch it. It's about, do you get to have another chance to pursue this? That opportunity?
Yeah, I do. So I'm pretty excited. So I have to pick up a date for the gentleman, but which I have to do that still, which I am not remembering. But I still am as a regular open mic, so I will be there 2 Sundays from now at that same coffee shop. And
Would you want to
it is
shout it out real quick?
Yes, it is Cafe Mudita. The group is called Artistic Alchemy 757. You can follow us on Instagram for you can know when that is.
Good.
And
I'm so sorry. Spell cafe. What is it?
oh, Mudita, Mudita. It is a Latin themed coffee shop where they
Love.
where they make different brews and drink ideas around South America. So it's pretty cool.
Ooh.
Yes. If you ever want to try a yerba mate, they have a really good one. So I just that's on the every third Sunday of the month is at that shop, and there is also the same group, Artistic Alchemy, has one on every first Thursdays at Cure Coffee House, Norfolk. So, and I am there hosting there as well. So those are two.
Awesome.
Yes. We get more people at Cafe. Oh yeah. We get more people at the Thursday night one, but I think it's a little bit more walkable. So just like location wise, but I always open for anyone ever to walk in and just read off what they have. It is an original work open mic, so you can't go and like sing a cover of a song, but if you have an original song and a band of no more than 2 people, coffee shop restrictions, you can come up and do a little song or a comedy set, poem, written work. You have 5 minutes at a time, yada yada yada. I will not spend too much time talking about that. I can talk the entire spiel of the
Great. I love. I used to do open mics many moon ago, so I'm like, oh, I love, like, for myself, I'm like, this is so cool. It's a little bit of a drive, but like it would be incredible. Like, I love to hear about it.
Yay!
And by all means, I'm asking about it. Please share.
Yeah. Well, like, we've been doing it for a couple of months. I believe we started in September or August of 2024. So, oh my gosh, we're almost on a year. That's nice. And we have a small ragtag team of very motivated individuals. One of the hosts is a what's her name? Oh goodness. One of the hosts is a nationally ranked poet. She's doing great work, great stuff. And the other host is actually the man I mentioned at the beginning of this interview, Teach. He's one of the publishers in the area for Muse, the Muse Writing Center. He's the other co-host. So the 3 of us have been taking it on. It's been a good time. So
That is so cool. That's so awesome.
Yeah. I think it's been a really good opportunity. I'm glad I've been trying to say yes to a lot of things, which another lesson and advice. Just say yes, especially in the beginning of your career as an artist or a creative or an entrepreneur. every opportunity is an opportunity to push yourself ahead. So and then get exposure, get practice, everything, you know?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And with the recommendations, could you share if you have any books or podcasts or courses or any tool for fellow creatives or entrepreneurs? I saw that you're on Substack. I don't know what that is, but I am very curious to hear. But aside from that, do you have any other resources you particularly would recommend?
Yes. So I am on Substack. It is a little empty right now because I'm working on putting quotes and things together there. Substack is essentially, actually, colloquially, I like to call it a smart Twitter. So more people write like their hot takes, but a little bit way more eloquently written, and I post it there in a blog format. So it's like different type of mini blog you can follow. I like to follow a lot of people that have a good set of introspection. Tony Bravo is one of my favorite people on that platform, and she talks a lot about intentional living and the ethos, pathos, logos of the human experience. As someone who can be gridlocked into a lot of secular is an interesting word to use for this, but secular is where I'm thinking of secular style of thinking and not using much of my feelings involved when I'm not writing. It's nice to have work around me that pushes social theory and theories on, like, I guess, feelings and humanity. So I like Tony Bravo. She's a great young lady. And as far as other books that I just recommend to people in general, especially if you get if you get congested in your mind. What I mean by this is if you get into like logic loopholes that you can't get yourself out of and you're like in a traffic jam in your brain. I really enjoyed Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. I'm going to say this right now. I have no idea if these are controversial people. Please don't say anything bad about it.
We're not here to have an opinion on who they are as individuals. We're here to talk about their work.
Yes. And that one specific work that I'm talking about is The Power of Now. I've always struggled with really bad anxiety, and The Power of Now speaks of what can you control in the instantaneous moment that you're in currently. Not 10 minutes ahead, not 2 hours prior, or not anything in the past, not anything in the future. What can you do right now to fix a feeling that you have, right? And that was mind-melting in college when I was going through a lot of my anxiety problems and having issues studying, working, all this other stuff. And it's a book I constantly refer to like almost 10 plus years later now. And anytime one of my friends or some of the creators I'm around are stuck in a rut, I do suggest that book for them. So it's a very short read, but it's good to read it over and over. I think there might be 100 pages max. So
it's one of those short but powerful pieces.
Yes, short but powerful. And it's a very gentle narrative style, I would say. So there's that one book like Unfuck Yourself. He's like, you gotta get out there, you need to try hard and punch a rhino. Eckhart Tolle is not reading like that. It's like, if you believe in this now, how come you do believe that and 10 minutes from now you'll be hungrier than you are currently? Just eat the apple now and see how you feel later, and then reassess your situation, whether it is in 10 minutes or in 30 minutes. But don't plan to reassess it. Just do what you can do in this current moment. And I was like, thanks, Eckhart Tolle. Thank you for not helping me not go into like manic cycles. It's great. So I like Eckhart. He's cool. The next one will be the 4 Agreements. I suggest that as a way to challenge your thought on, I guess, the human experience and how things are in the first place. I will say,
love that.
Yes, I will say I don't agree with everything in the book. But I, several times since reading it, have been like, you know what? That guy had a point. Unfortunately, it's part of the 4 Agreements. I'm just going through my like day-to-day life, so If you would like a philosophical read on how, I guess, quote, the world and the universe works, I like that, and it helps challenge how you interact in your interpersonal relationships and your internal reflections on how you show up. And so I guess not society, but like I guess in the earth, if you're one of those universe people like that. So my last two are Bell Hooks, I believe it's The Theory of Love, and Sister Outsider by Audre Lorde. Two very prolific feminist activists, Black activists, queer activists, and I, in this current timeline of the universe, have been feeling very stuck socially in a global sense, without being putting too much emphasis on what's going on in the world currently. But if it's making me feel very angry in a way I cannot control, right? And there's been a lot of feelings of like, well, is anyone doing anything? Does anybody feel the way that I feel? You know, exactly. And one of my good friends suggested I read first Sister Outsider by Audre Lorde, and he studied goodness gracious, women's history. He did a history major, had a women's history concentration with it, and was like, you know, Mystique, a lot of things that you think of, it reminds me of Audre Lorde. You should read Sister Outsider. And it was very nice between Audre Lorde and Bell Hooks to be validated in thoughts that I had, but way more articulated. So, and then expanded upon. So, and there are aspects and thoughts in the book, or both of the books, that I've never considered. However, I'm glad that I've been introduced to. So it makes me a more empathetic person in general, and a little bit more informed, you know. And it's best to be a good neighbor. I know Sister Outsider is basically an intersectional feminist type of book on how you interact with the world around you, and then the Theory of Love one is about for the masculine version of that, essentially. So there's the how you can perform as a masculine character in society as a positive figure, and where you have your where the pitfalls are socially and how that is overcome as a masculine figure. And the Sister Outsider is the feminist perspective of it as a female figure or a feminine figure. So I highly suggest it. It helps fill gaps. So, and it's not entirely artistic themed, but I am a person who thinks a lot of prose, and I am a professional thinker, as I say. So there we go.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the incredible recommendations. I really appreciate your thought and actual care that you've given into them, and I highly recommend to everybody listening, if you have a little bit of an interest, you know, in the very least, not sponsored, check out Audible. There's all kinds of options
for sure
on listening to books if you don't want to read them.
Right. I love a good Audible book. I drive a lot, so I read while I drive. End quote.
She gets to have them both things figured out. I love that. We're getting close to our wrapping up of an hour, but before we begin our parting ways, I wanted to ask you about your future outlook with your creative self, and you know, what does that look like for you in your sense of planning, like goal orientation? Like, you've learned so much from the power of now and yourself and putting yourself out into your community. What's next for you, do you think, with making your next big step towards unleashing your creative self?
So something I hinted at earlier is that I'm trying to collect all my pages up for a book, and that is one of the biggest near-term goals. I am 28. I'm trying to have it published before I am 30, so stay tuned. And I have a tentative title. If it changes between now and then you know, you never heard it from here, or maybe you did. But I like to call it The Call of the Void, which is the phrase of the it's the feeling you have when you're driving on a bridge and you're like, what if I just drive off? And it's a impulse, and you don't really mean to do it, but it is a French phrase saying that there is an external body acting on your psyche that's pulling you towards a end that is not good, right? And I thought that was maybe an ironic title for how extreme my feelings have been for the last couple of years. So because a lot of my pieces are on the intense side, right? On both ends, swings very high. I am better than everybody. I'm almost godlike. I could probably punch the sun. Versus I'm in the depths of my feelings. If I vanish away into the void now, no one will ever know. Boo-hoo, melodramatic. But
do we all not feel those times? That's the
Exactly.
reality is we all feel that way, but how many people actually allow themselves to realize that they're allowed to feel that way in those moments, and the difference between when it isn't appropriate?
Exactly. And that's basically the theme of the book is the call of the void, these impulse big feelings and these impulse big thoughts that are calling to you, but are within the surface, like are under the surface in the subconsciousness. So that's why I'm really excited about that. I printed out all my pieces and organized my pages the other day. So hint. But
incredible. She's getting close, it sounds like.
I can taste it. I'm nervous about trying to make a cover art because I am a perfectionist, but that's okay. The other thing I'm really excited about is my songwriting journey. It is a new hill battle. I feel like now that I've mastered prose and poetry, but it is a different way to network amongst musicians than it is amongst poets, if that makes sense. So right now, exactly, I am not a band. I am one man. You know what I mean? But so my biggest hurdles in that is trying to find like people who know how to do certain instruments, producers, such like that. But it's exciting to have something new and fresh to learn. So I'm still on that. And also, I feel like on the song side, I'm not as depressing. So, which is also a nice change. I like to have a little.
Hey, yeah, win.
I like it. I am a bubbly person. I swear. Y'all just don't know if you read my stuff. You're like, oh man,
we have to let out those emotions because otherwise they will fester within you.
Exactly. Duality of man. It has to go somewhere. You know, I have to recycle, reuse, and reduce. You know. But and I'm trying to learn some instruments in the time too. Also, I'm trying to get even more bookings this year. I have made it to now I think 17 booked events as of this podcast recording.
Oh my gosh.
I know, which is pretty fast in my 2 years of even just starting out this way. But it's been nice to let things come towards me and opportunities fly up. But I want to push myself more and network more in this, and that requires me showing up by myself, but 110%. I have to have my mini commercials ready, and a tiny piece of advice is just kind of wrapped into there. I was speaking to one of the local comedians, and he's super talented. He just gone on America's Got Talent, and I was like, oh my god, you're just from here. And he was telling me that I need to consider every event that I am going to perform at a booked event. Like, for instance, I don't consider me going to an open mic. Originally, I didn't consider myself going to an open mic, a booked event. He said, if I keep with that mindset, you're not going to grow in that. You're only going to perform 1,000% on your bookings instead of you should be performing 1,000% to get booked. And I was like, this is an amazing thought, and I should be advertising every time I go to an open mic. I need to be pushing, and I need to be my own manager. So, and that is what my future outlook is. I want to get triply booked, maybe quadruple even.
Yes.
On the menu, you know. So,
you absolutely got this. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited.
I look forward to continuing to take part and support your journey. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing so much of yourself with us. Before we sign off, is there any shout outs or anything else you want to let the audience know before we close?
Depending on when this is published, I will be performing my next at my next venue at Bizarro's Deli in Williamsburg on April 26th, I believe, at 7 p.m. So Bizarro's Deli, the underground slam. So it's an open, it's a slam mic, and there's a featured artist, and I am the featured artist of the night. So if you've been to post slam, it's cool.
Congratulations.
So yeah, yep. I'm pretty excited, and I will actually be doing a combination of singing and poetry. So if you want to see what's going on there, you can definitely see that. I call myself a professional warbler as well. Your girl got lungs. So, but I can't.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here, Mystique, and thank you all for turning on and tuning in to Ring Ring Hello, the podcast where no matter your background, you are not alone in a post-COVID world. And remember, love yourself today. You're worth it.
You are worth it.
Will you be calling?